The Lakers' offseason has reached the point where every new rumor seems to create another question. And right now, one name is sitting directly in the middle of that storm: Jonathan Kuminga. The Lakers have obvious reasons to be interested. They need size, athleticism, perimeter defense, and another player capable of attacking the basket. On paper, Kuminga checks almost every one of those boxes, but there is a much bigger issue hiding underneath the basketball fit. And that is exactly what Lakers insider Jovan Buha has been warning about. The question isn't simply whether Kuminga can help Los Angeles, it's whether the Lakers can bring him in without creating a rolling contract situation that eventually works against the team. Kuminga is still only 23 years old, which makes his upside extremely attractive. But his future value is also part of the equation. Los Angeles isn't looking for another player who needs the offense built around him. The team is trying to construct a roster around Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves, and that means every significant addition has to understand what his job is going to be. Kuminga could be asked to defend bigger wings, run the floor, attack closeouts, rebound, and occasionally create his own offense. That sounds appealing until you consider what happens when the ball isn't in his hands. If Kuminga arrives expecting a much larger offensive role, the Lakers could quickly discover that the talent fit isn't necessarily the same thing as the role fit. That's where the financial side becomes extremely important. If his asking price climbs toward the upper teens annually, Los Angeles would have to be convinced that the player they're getting can consistently justify that investment. A deal around $15 million per season becomes much easier to understand. Push that number significantly higher, and the margin for error becomes much smaller. The Lakers don't need Kuminga to prove that he can score 20 points a night. They need him to prove that he can help a contender win without needing 20 shots to feel involved. That distinction could determine whether this becomes one of the smartest moves of the summer or one of the most frustrating ones. There's a successful blueprint sitting right in front of the Lakers. Look at Aaron Gordon in Denver. Gordon entered the league with expectations that he could become a much bigger offensive centerpiece, but eventually found enormous value by becoming a defensive weapon, transition threat, screener cutter, and physical forward alongside Nikola Jokic. If Kuminga embraces a similar transformation, his athletic ability could make him incredibly dangerous next to Doncic. But if he views a reduced role as a setback instead of an opportunity, the Lakers could have a problem. And that is why this pursuit deserves more caution than excitement alone. Los Angeles also has competition. Minnesota has reportedly shown interest, meaning the Lakers cannot assume Kuminga will simply wait around while they decide how much they want to pay. If another team offers him a larger role or more money, Los Angeles could lose the opportunity altogether. So the real decision for Rob Pelinka isn't simply whether Kuminga is talented enough. Of course he is. The decision is whether the Lakers believe his priorities match theirs. If they believe he is ready to sacrifice touches for winning, the upside is enormous. If they believe he still needs to establish himself as a primary offensive option, then the Lakers may be better off looking elsewhere. And that brings us to the second major storyline, because Los Angeles may already have another path available if the Kuminga negotiations become too complicated. There is a fascinating connection between Luka Doncic's past and the Lakers' current roster-building plans, and it involves Dallas. Los Angeles has been searching for front-court players who can maximize what Doncic does best, especially when he operates in the pick and roll. Luka doesn't necessarily need a center who demands touches. In fact, one of the most valuable pieces beside him is a big man who can screen, roll hard, catch lobs, protect the rim, and create easy points without disrupting the offense. That is why the possibility of bringing in a former Mavericks big man is so interesting. The relationship with Doncic wouldn't need to be built from scratch. These players already understand the timing, spacing, and reads that come with playing next to Luka. Dallas also has reasons to examine its frontcourt options as the franchise continues reshaping the roster around Cooper. Flag. If the Mavericks decide that one of their established bigs no longer fits the long-term direction, the Lakers could become a natural team to watch. There is an obvious complication though. Dallas has no reason to make life easier for Los Angeles. after the blockbuster trade that sent Doncic to the Lakers. From the Mavericks' perspective, every transaction involving the Lakers would have to make sense independently. They aren't going to give away a useful player simply because he has history with Luka. The financial situation could ultimately become the deciding factor. If Dallas needs flexibility and Los Angeles has contracts and draft assets it can move, suddenly a deal becomes much more realistic. The Lakers would be acquiring more than a familiar face. They would be adding someone who understands the exact environment Doncic needs around him. That could be extremely valuable for a roster entering a new era. The Lakers have already made several additions this offseason, but their front court remains an area where one more move could dramatically change the team's ceiling. The biggest question is what they are willing to sacrifice to make it happen. Jared Vanderbilt continues to appear in trade discussions, and that brings us directly to another potential blockbuster scenario. Vanderbilt's future in Los Angeles has become increasingly interesting because his contract can serve as part of a larger roster move. The Lakers don't necessarily have to move him because they have given up on his defensive ability. The bigger issue is opportunity cost. If his contract can help bring back a more complete forward who is healthier, more reliable offensively, and already comfortable playing next to Doncic, Los Angeles has to consider it. Reports have connected the Lakers to a Dallas forward carrying an $88 million contract. With potential frameworks involving Vanderbilt and draft compensation, the appeal is easy to understand. The Lakers need a legitimate two-way forward, and a player who already knows Doncic's tendencies would have an immediate advantage. Instead of spending months developing chemistry, the two could potentially pick up where they left off in Dallas. For Los Angeles, that kind of familiarity could be especially valuable with LeBron James no longer returning and the offense now centered around Luka. It would also give the Lakers another option if the Kuminga pursuit falls apart. That is the part fans should watch most closely. These stories may not be separate at all. The Lakers could be weighing Kuminga against a trade market that gives them an alternative route towards solving the same problem. If Kuminga's price becomes too high, Los Angeles could shift toward a trade. If Dallas becomes unwilling to negotiate, the Lakers could return to the free agent market. Either way, Vanderbilt appears to be one of the pieces that could unlock the next move. The potential Vanderbilt trade isn't just about replacing one forward with another. It would represent a larger change in how the Lakers are constructing the roster. The organization wants players who can survive in playoff basketball without requiring the offense to revolve around them. That means defense, versatility, shooting, cutting, physicality, and the ability to make quick decisions around Luka. Vanderbilt has shown that he can defend, but availability and offensive limitations have made his situation more complicated. If Los Angeles can turn that contract into a player who provides more consistent two-way production, the front office would have a strong argument for making the move. There is also the possibility that multiple assets become involved. The Lakers have accumulated additional draft flexibility through previous transactions, giving Pelinka more ammunition than he had in earlier years. That doesn't mean the Lakers should throw every asset on the table, but it does mean they have options. And in an offseason centered around a franchise-changing superstar, options are valuable. The Lakers have already demonstrated that they aren't afraid to make aggressive moves. The question now is how aggressive they want to become. If they believe the current roster is already good enough, they could simply hold their assets and wait. But if the goal is to turn Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves into the foundation of a legitimate championship contender immediately, another major move could make sense. That is why the Vanderbilt rumors deserve attention, even if no trade is imminent. His name is being discussed because his contract can help facilitate something larger, and the Lakers may not be finished reshaping the forward rotation. Then there is one final story that has nothing to do with a blockbuster trade but could still have an impact on the team's depth. Robbie Avila, who joined the Lakers after going undrafted in 2026, reportedly has a major decision to make regarding his basketball future. Avila became a player Lakers fans quickly noticed during the summer. His opportunities were limited, but his college resume gave supporters plenty of reasons to be intrigued. He spent 2 seasons at Indiana State before transferring to St. Louis, where his production and all-around game made him one of the Atlantic 10's most recognizable players. During his final college season, he helped St. Louis put together an impressive campaign while earning Conference Player of the Year honors. Then came the NBA opportunity. Avila went undrafted, joined the Lakers for Summer League, and eventually agreed to a training camp arrangement. Normally, that would be the obvious path. Continue working, fight for a roster opportunity, and try to turn a summer opportunity into a professional career. But the NCAA eligibility situation has created another option. A preliminary injunction opened the door for certain players from the 2022 high school class to receive an additional season of college eligibility, and that created a temporary transfer opportunity. Avila reportedly falls into that group, meaning he has to weigh 2 very different paths. One is remaining with the Lakers and trying to earn his way into an NBA rotation. The other is returning to college, playing major minutes, rebuilding his resume, and potentially improving his draft position. His summer league numbers with Los Angeles weren't spectacular, largely because he didn't receive much playing time. He appeared in 4 games and averaged roughly a point, half a rebound, and an assist in limited minutes. That doesn't tell the entire story, but it does highlight the challenge facing an undrafted player trying to break into an NBA frontcourt that already has several bodies competing for opportunities. From Avila's perspective, another year of college basketball could provide something the NBA developmental system cannot: guarantee meaningful minutes and a major role. Instead of fighting for scraps at the end of an NBA rotation, he could return to a familiar environment and once again become an offensive centerpiece. That could help his development, his confidence, and potentially his future draft opportunities. On the other hand, staying with the Lakers would give him access to NBA coaches, NBA facilities, and a direct opportunity to compete for a professional roster spot. There is no guarantee that returning to college automatically improves his stock, just as there is no guarantee that staying in Los Angeles results in a contract. That is what makes the decision so interesting. Lakers fans may want to see Avila stay because they enjoyed what they saw from him. But from the player's perspective, the smartest career move has to come first. The deadline surrounding the special transfer window makes the decision even more urgent. Whatever Avila chooses, his situation is another reminder of how quickly the Lakers' frontcourt picture is changing. Los Angeles is looking at Kuminga, exploring trade possibilities, considering how to use Vanderbilt, and developing young players at the same time. The common thread through all of it is clear. The Lakers want to surround Doncic with players who complement him, rather than compete with him for control of the offense. That philosophy will ultimately determine every major decision this summer. Kuminga could become the athletic two-way forward the Lakers have been missing. A Dallas reunion could give Luka a familiar pick-and-roll partner. A Vanderbilt trade could open the door for a more complete starter. And Avila could either continue his NBA journey immediately or take another year to dominate college basketball. None of these moves is guaranteed, but together they paint a picture of a Lakers team that is still very much under construction. The days of simply adding another star and figuring everything else out later are over. This roster needs balance. It needs defenders who can stay on the floor, bigs who can finish plays created by Doncic, forwards who can contribute without demanding the ball, and young players who can develop without being rushed. That is why the Kuminga decision may actually be the most important of the entire group. Talent is not the question. Fit is. If the Lakers get that part right, they could dramatically improve their chances of competing at the highest level. If they get it wrong, the consequences could follow them for years. And with other teams circling, the front office won't have unlimited time to figure it out. The next major Lakers move could therefore come from free agency, the trade market, or an unexpected roster decision involving a young player. Whatever happens, the direction is unmistakable. Los Angeles is building around Luka Doncic, and every piece added from this point forward has to make that vision stronger. So now the question goes to Lakers fans. Would you rather see the team take the risk on Kuminga, make the aggressive trade for a proven forward, or preserve the assets and wait for a better opportunity? Because whichever path Rob Pelinka chooses could define the next chapter of the Lakers. Stay locked in, because this offseason is far from finished.